Good morning, beautiful people. We have the wonderful acquisition supporting our youth and family and going to teen camp, and thought we could just dance around in the warmth of this morning. All of us is wrapped in this wrap of love. And to just know that this is the very best day ever, and that, as Kamatara said, that we come to the center. Literally and figuratively, we come to the center. The center. So moving into this month of silence, go ahead. Go ahead. We move into this month of silence. And we thought about giving out blank CDs. But somebody's already done that. And in your recent e-blast, we sent a booklet, and we thought about sending like a blank page. You know, we all have that book that's unwritten in our lives, and we can write whatever it is on that. And so there's a booklet if you haven't already subscribed. And it gives us some daily exercises that we can incorporate into our world. The lotus flower, which is our theme, our topic for today, what the lotus does is it goes to the depth of all the murky waters and all that muddy stuff and that murkiness, and it pops and it rises up above the water toward the sun, and it uses all that mucky stuff, all that murkiness. And if we look at what distractions we might have in our life, if we look at something that may not be working so well, we know that we can rise to the top, much like our path of enlightenment. We can rise to the top. And like consciousness does for us uniquely, individually, as an individualized expression of the oneness, of the consciousness, whatever that unenlightenment is, it gradually, we rise from that muddiness. We rise into that purification, that pure spirit essence that we are. So we rise up in that today out of silence. And I remember traveling in Hawaii when I was young, and we would go and we would trade houses, and we were always afraid to go to the O'Hara's house because they were so generous, and they had this beautiful Zen garden, and they were so generous that if you admired something, they would give it to you. So my parents were very cautious, and they said, please do not admire that big pineapple party serving thing. And as we were here at the gala last night, I thought, I want to be admiring some things and not others. And so what I was placing my attention on is, and I was really respectful, and we just didn't want to have to haul that back on the plane, that humongous thing. And so at the O'Hara's, I learned how to admire a teacup. Now, a teacup could fit in the suitcase. But to admire that teacup and to admire the tea that's in that, and to know that we could be in the silence or be in the stillness with this beautiful family in this Zen garden, in just this most beautiful place. So we can rest, we can trust, we can know that in the stillness of this moment, there is love, there is peace, there is joy as we come to the center. We come to the very center of our hearts. Recently I did a 21-day cleanse because my body was a little noisy. You know, whatever parts, it was just speaking to me. And I thought, whew, much like this lotus, I'm going to cleanse and have that murkiness or whatever that muddiness is be more clean and pure so I can be more energized and feel that pure energy. So when I noticed my body was a little bit noisy, I did that. And I also went from whatever that external noise was to the internal stillness. I went from whatever that struggle seemed to be, that appearance seemed to be, that struggle or that noise, to stillness. So as we look at different areas, as we move from struggle to stillness and come back to the center, we can have that purification. We can have that pure essence, that divine essence that's meant to be our true nature as it unfolds. I had traveled with, there were 17 people on our bus, and imagine 17 people. Normally our groups, when we did some spiritual travel programs, would only be about 8 to 12 people. And we'd go to South America, we'd go to Mexico, we'd go to Europe and take all these people. And imagine 17 people around you all having personal growth experiences, moving from struggle to silence. And to be sitting on this bus all together, everyone popping up with, like the lotus, popping up with that new experience. And sometimes when we have that purification, everything else comes up unlike it. So it's really important for us to focus on the rising up of that lotus flower. It's important to know that there's, in essence, if there's noise, that whatever I'm searching for, and my friend Shar was sitting next to me on this bus as we're traveling, and she says, I am in this peace. I am in the stillness. And we were on this bus, and all kinds of people were having their enlightenment experiences. And she says, I am having an experience of peace right here and now. I'm having an experience from this silent place on this bus, that there's peace and love and joy that I'm experiencing, no matter what that journey was as we were traveling together, having all these enlightening experiences. And Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of The Science of Mind, which is a guide for spiritual living, he talks about this very same experience that we were having on this bus. And that he would go to the inner tabernacle, which would be, in essence, a dwelling place of our soul. That we have this abode of this dwelling place of our soul already. And so he says, as we enter the inner tabernacle, by whatever route, we just happen to be on a bus. We just happen to be, I just happen to be doing a cleansing of whatever that noise in my body was. Some people live in such conscious unity with good, they instantly can turn within and direct the avenues they wish the good to take. So as we know that spirit is driving the bus, and that as we come back to center, as we're riding along that transportation, whatever vehicle, whatever route we're taking, and to know that we all have these sacred paths and sacred quests, that if we know that spirit is forever right where we are, we shall not be reaching out in every direction for it. It's here. It's everywhere. And as we enter the inner chamber of our mind and close the door on all discord and confusion and commune with our spiritual consciousness, the silence is that communion with the Spirit. The silence of that peace, of that love, of that true essence. And we have this awareness of the unity with our good, that we're already at one. Whatever we call it, if it's that inner communion with the Spirit, with the thing itself, with our true being, with our coming to the center of the heart of hearts of our being. We know that anytime, anywhere, it's available, and it has nothing to do, perhaps, with our environment. We were on this bus. We were traveling together, and it was present wherever we were. We took it with us. We were traveling as it, no matter what route or avenue we were going down. So we can be at that inner tabernacle, and it reminded me of that dwelling place that's already within our hearts, that mountain reflection that we have. And I was experiencing a Jewish scholar who was talking about some scripture, and he was saying that way back when people were arguing about, we're going to go ahead and hide the scripture, we're going to go ahead and hide all these traditions, hide whatever those secrets, those mysteries are, we're going to just hide it. And it reminds me in the Hindu context, the same story was reflected of people were arguing, and it was something that they didn't want people to get a hold of because it was such chaos, or there was so much discord going on that they didn't want humans in this Hindu story to get a hold of whatever that was. And so in the Hindu context, at one point, all the humans were gods. They represented all those qualities that we aspire to be. All those qualities. They have 3 million some attributes of what our spiritual life is. And that's a context. And at one point, we were all divine beings. And there was a bunch of havoc, and things were getting out of hand, and there was some debate about where to put the spirituality, where to put the divinity that's within us. So in this story, they went ahead, they had a council so they could debate about where to put it, and they had a whole bunch of things going on. And they said, well, let's take humankind's divinity and hide it. Where? And they said, oh, I know where we're going to put it. I know. Let's go ahead and we'll put it at the very top of the mountains. The very top, and I think they may find a way to get there at the very top. At the very toppest part, at the very highest part. Or, I know, let's put it at the bottom of the ocean. Let's put it at the way abyss at the very bottom of the ocean so people can't find it. And then Brahma, who would be representative of their god, says, well, I know that people are so clever that they're going to get there. They'll be able to get their hands on it. I know people are so clever. Well, we're going to go ahead and put the divinity within. We're going to put it where we're least likely to find it. Inside of their very own being. We're going to put the divinity inside of the very own being. Our very own tabernacle. And it reminds me how often we refer to external references I refer to it for my well-being. I refer to external references, whether it could be at the top of a mountain or it could be at the bottom of the sea. It could be whatever that title or position or accomplishment or that relationship or whatever those things are that we pray about. Whatever those external things are and that define me. We all have these things in our life that define ourselves. And even thinking is an external reference. Until we go to that inner knowingness, that inner power, that inner presence, that inner place where the treasure is within. And our inner communion is with that inner tabernacle. So Echard Tolle, who's our book of the month, he talks about having this equivalent experience. And he says that the equivalent of external noise is the inner noise of thinking. The equivalent of external silence is inner stillness. So I listen to the silence, and it's beyond all of that who, what, where, when, how. I listen to that inner silence. And in the Science of Mind text on page 299, Dr. Ernest Holmes says that as I listen in the silence, the voice of all humanity speaks to me and answers the love that I hold out to it. So from within, we hold that out. We hold that presence from that stillness, that inner sanctuary. And I had someone who came to me and said, I don't know what to say to people when somebody dies. I don't know what to say. And I listened to what they had to say. And we decided that our silence is the best gift that we can give. We can say nothing. We can say nothing and then listen in the silence together. And to give that gift. And I know that when I listen to the silence, I become attuned to that abundant life. I become attuned to those richest blessings. I become attuned to coming back to the center. And bring that out in my experience. And I've had people say, well, I can't really practice the silence that happens during our service. Because, we've got the coffee brewing this morning. We have this kind of cafe feel. We have sometimes the air conditioning, sometimes the fountain. We have electricity. We have the lights. And as we practice our own silence, we can not be distracted by low-level things and to take it to a higher level. We can move from struggle to stillness. And I remember that I had a yoga teacher once. Her name was Brenda, and it was at a Parks and Rec. She did all levels. It was great. And she'd come over and she would just move us in whatever the yoga position I was in, just like this much. It was just that millimeter, and it would make a huge difference. And she said, well, you're distracted. And I said, yeah, I'm a little distracted. There had been a window that was open and a fly had come in. Easily entertained, am I? So I was experiencing all these peaceful poses, and at the same time, a fly was interrupting this practice. And she says, how interesting it is that you're distracted when you're courting the divine. How interesting that is. And how often do I let low level, like the fly on the tablecloth, how often do I let low level things, distractions, take the center stage? How often? And how do I, if I allow it to overtake my thinking mind, that external thing overtaking my thinking mind? And then sometimes I would even engage, or I'd act from it like this. I would engage, whatever those distractions were, and whatever my thinking mind was doing at that low-level distraction. Like the muddy waters, like that murky stuff that the lotus grows from and uses all of its nourishment to nourish the soul. So we see that stillness works for us, and it's a listening, and it's a receptivity to what is. It's that inner being. It's that coming to our center. It is in that silent moment, and to know that we have that inner guide, that inner guidance, that presence, which is everywhere presence, and that we can, in essence, be the peace we want to see, be the love that we want to see, be the joy that we want to see and experience. And we have an affirmation which I'm going to invite you to participate in. Everyone have an affirmation card, because you can keep it close to your heart, close to your phone. And I invite us to read this together. My inner guide keeps me on the pathway of life and directs me at all times to that which is right and best. I shall never be without this witness of the Spirit, for I believe in it and accept it as the great companion of the soul, that inner tabernacle, that great companion, that beingness, that essence that is of the divine. And in our book of the month, I'm going to invite you to do an exercise, and it's really great because it's just like one of those books you can just have it fall open. And I'm going to invite us to just close our eyes for a moment and take that soulful nature, that idea of that stillness and that inner presence and peace within us, and to know that we are not distracted and that we have this undistractable attention on that which is the divine essence that is within us. This is on page 25 or 21, depending on which version you get. And so I invite you to just turn within and just have a moment. And remember how I said I had some noises where I needed to do a cleansing? Yeah. So this is a beautiful place to just notice and feel the energy that's within us, and to move from whatever that struggle or murkiness might be to the stillness. So it says to feel the energy of your inner body. And just take a deep breath. And knowing that there's nowhere to go and nowhere else to be but here and now. But to be here now. So feel the energy of your inner body. Immediately, mental noise slows down or ceases. Feel it in your hands, your feet, your abdomen, your chest. Feel the life that you are, the life that animates the body. The body then becomes a doorway, so to speak, into a deeper sense of aliveness. And in experiencing that aliveness, I'm reminded of one of my teachers, Dr. Betty, who actually danced on our stage. She grew up as a Quaker. And the Quakers talk about waiting in anticipation. They have something that they call unprogrammed worship, and they have this waiting anticipation as they sit together. And they have an anticipatory silence. And every person is loved. Every person is at peace. Every person is guided by that infinite presence, by that inner tabernacle, that dwelling place, and knowing that there is this presence that has a direct relationship with us, uniquely and individually as us. And that to be called to attend to this relationship and be guided by it. And maybe that is the question for this month. Do I attend to this relationship of courting the divine, in being undistracted and that divine presence and that essence? And I am guided by it. Do I attend to this relationship? And knowing that I can bring that power of stillness, and knowing that I can let my thoughts be a guiding essence, that to take this moment to breathe, to be in peace, to be in love, to be in joy, and in this quiet recognition of our own peace, to be in that place and let our thoughts sit in waiting anticipation of the divine, of the inner presence. So I know that there is this perfect peace, and call upon Isaiah to talk about this perfect peace that says, "Thou wilt keep us in perfect peace, for in thee we have trusted forever and ever." And to have our minds stayed on the divine essence from that place of stillness. We keep this perfect peace. And knowing that our mind is stayed on that, that's our focus. That's who we are. And even as I was driving here today, I could have lost that focus. I could have gone back to that muddiness and been in a struggle instead of stillness. As I was driving up Paradise Boulevard, and somebody pulled out in a Toyota Tacoma, and wow, I was turning within from that external place, and it was almost like this flashback to John Glenn, who had sailed around the world, and he had left his blinker on, sailing around the world. He had, gone around in the orbit. John Glenn, who's the astronaut, and had left his blinker on. Well, the person in front of me on Paradise Boulevard had left their blinker on and had darted out. And I could have been totally distracted, or it could have disrupted my day or been a struggle. But we could call upon that inner stillness and silence and to go back into that peaceful nature instead of being distracted by leaving that blinker on or getting upset or being in the murk instead of in the stillness. So I invite us to be in this stillness and in this place of grace and peace and joy. And being in this moment, I invite us to turn within to this inner stillness and to be energized and filled with this infinite presence and love and peace, which is always available, always accessible, and being in this infinite way and knowing that there is this presence and this guiding light, and to, in essence, tabernacle and to be with this divine presence and to be in relationship in the courting of the divine. It is so beautiful. It is that which is the unity, that which is the inner communion and the union with Spirit. So I know that it just spills over into the day and that it makes the way straight. It knows that it has this avenue of this guiding light, this avenue which is the portal of this love and light, and it is filled in this atmosphere, in this environment within I walk. And I know that in this walking, in this avenue, that my step is a little bit lighter. It is filled with light and love and extends itself as peace, as joy, from this place of inner communion and stillness. And coming from that place of the silent essence and the divine presence, I allow it to be so in gratitude, in gratefulness, And I release this word knowing it is so powerful and it is ever present, living here in the now, spirit as itself. And so be it, and so I celebrate, and so it is. And please join in a few moments of stillness while our practitioners rise up.